our time. This mic will get you to Zoom. That mic will get you to the room. All right. Sorry. Double mic. So, is it working now? Yeah. All right. 2 years ago, at YASA's annual meeting in Istanbul, I had the pleasure to attend Pedro Felix National Archives World Meeting, I think it's called. He asked 2 questions. What is a national music collection and how can we collect that? For Germany, the first question can be answered by quoting our legal mandate. All media in writing, image, and sound that has been published in Germany since 1913, both physically and digitally. However, for a very long time, we focused on physically published music because collecting music automatically that has not been published on CD or vinyl or cassette is truly a challenging task. Over the last years, we worked hard on workflows and interfaces in order to close this gap. And last summer, we managed to collect the first audio tracks that were published digitally, not test files, not manual workarounds, but fully automated processes, end-to-end through our workflows and into the repository. Recognizing that many archives and libraries face similar collection mandates, but may not have the resources to develop their own systems, this presentation is this presentation invites an open exchange of ideas and solutions. You'll find my contact details on the last slide of this presentation. My team and I are very happy to share more information than I can fit into one talk. A very quick disclaimer: when I talk about audio digitally published music, I'm referring to the music that is published for Tidal, Cobus, Apple Music, Spotify, and other platforms. Sales of physical audio media are declining. In Germany, CDs, vinyl, and cassette tapes together account for less than 16% of the market. While nearly all music released on CD or vinyl is also published digitally, the reverse is not true. The growing share of digital releases will never be issued in physical formats. For archives and libraries collecting national music output, it's essential not to miss out on digitally published content. Let me briefly explain the legal framework we are working within in Germany. Since 2006, our collection mandate has included legal e-legal deposit, which covers digital audio files. This has enabled us to collect a wide range of online publications. Given the size of Germany's publishing market, we knew early on that scalability was key. Our approach was pragmatic. Don't try to do everything at once. We started with the basics and worked step by step to more complex topics. Right from the start, we knew that we'd only be able to handle the volume with automated processes. I cannot stress this enough. For nearly the entire life cycle of ingestion and access. I like to say that our approach has worked for all types of media, like ebooks and e-journals, so no music so far. We passed the 19 million mark this summer. Following this step-by-step approach, we've been preparing for the collection of digital music for about 3 years now. Let's have a quick glance into the simplified structure of our ingest system, which corresponds to an Open Archival Information System, or OIAS. Please read it from left to right. It will then tell you what system components are important for the import of digital objects. On the left, you can see, I hope you can see, 3 different ways to receive those objects. OAI and hot folder are ports for large amounts of data. Hot folder uses the push method so that the submitter uploads files to our system. OAI uses the pull method in which we are harvesting the submitter's repository. A web form allows manual upload of small amounts of files and metadata. The import service consists of several service modules with certain functionalities like metadata management, check for duplicate files, checking the object's technical validity. That's the right word? Yeah. Thank you. And many more. For the music files and metadata that come to us via hot folder, we created a repackaging module that splits whole albums into single tracks. At the end of the import process, the data will be saved in different repositories. CBS is our cataloging system. This is for the metadata and for our library catalog. The digital long-term archive is the repository for technical metadata. The identifier pool contains the data for all sorts of identifiers and is the basis for checking duplicate files as well. This is the German National Library's repository for the digital objects like PDF, EPUB, WAV, MP3, and many others. From here, those objects are made accessible to our reading rooms. Using another modular service, LTA service prepares the files and metadata to go into the long-term archive, LTA. SIP stands for Submission Information Package. Each package contains one object with their corresponding metadata. The actual long-term archive is hosted by a data center outside the German National Library. To move quickly, we formed two dedicated IT teams. One focused on developing a new import format for digital music, the other on our broader new development of import services project. Both teams work with agile methods and new work methods, breaking work into short sprints and producing testable results early and often. So to support automated collection, we defined key requirements. I'll focus on the two most important ones. First, object and metadata must be together. Our primary goal has been to collect the object, so the audio file, along with its metadata. This requires deep engagement with each media community, for example, the music community in our case. And second, metadata standards. Standards for metadata vary widely between formats. What works for ebooks like Onyx or e-journals like JATS and Crossref doesn't refer to music. Initially, the music industry was slow to adopt standardized metadata formats, but that is changing. One standard, DDEX, is now gaining real traction. So what is DDEX? The name stands for Digital Data Exchange, an international standard founded in 2006 by key players of the music industry. Its goal is to improve efficiency and support the automated exchange of information across the global digital music value chain. The map shows how DDEX standards connect various partners. There are 10 different families of standards. We focused on release delivery. That's this orange one. Specifically DDEX ERN, Electronic Release Notification. Like other metadata formats, ERN describes the available object, but it also supports a range of additional data like sales information. While we have experience with many metadata standards, implementing DDEX ERN was a different challenge. It's the most complex data standard we have ever worked with. One reason is several versions of ERN are still in use and they are not backwards compatible. We chose to implement the latest version, 4.3, because version 3.x is no longer being maintained and will be sunset during 2025, so about now. Track and album. Once we understood the structure and chose a version, the next step was modeling the data so that it would fit into the overall data structure. We decided not to catalog albums as a whole, but rather to record each track individually. And the album title is simply stored as a string within each track record. Titles that appear on more than one album, for example, compilations or best-ofs, can be channeled to one single track data set. This is important because sometimes, especially with modern formats, you only receive single track publications, and not everything is an album anymore. Unlike library standards, the music industry doesn't differentiate between individual and corporate creators. Terms like artist or performer may refer to either. And while DDEX allows for first and last name distinctions, these are often omitted in practice. As a result, automatic processing can produce illogical assignments. Falco is an Austrian solo artist, and he may be misinterpreted as a group. Franz Ferdinand is a Scottish rock band, may tagged as an individual. And names like Sade remain ambiguous. Trying to assign these correctly using standard fields in library systems proved unreliable and error-prone. In most cases, accurate categorization requires human intervention. So we took a pragmatic approach. We abandoned the person-corporate entity distinction for digital music and created, sounds almost the same, but not entirely, we created a new repeatable field, other person or corporate entity, which accepts all names regardless of type. Over time, automated systems will be able to process these names more accurately. A major part of our DDEX rollout was engaging with the music community. We hosted a workshop to present our plans and hear concerns, especially about the format complexity, this DDEX thing. Through these conversations, we found a pilot partner, which was very, very valuable for us, called More Music, M-O-R-R, an indie label based in Berlin, Germany, small one. This gave us not only theoretical knowledge, but hands-on experience, even though DDEX ERN is not widely adopted, especially by smaller labels. We learned a great deal. We spent considerable time debating whether to use DDEX at all. While alternative and even free standards exist, most are either outdated or just not robust enough for our needs. In the long term, we are even considering developing a library-specific profile of DDEX in collaboration with the DDEX Secretariat in London. But for now, our priority remains implementation, not standard development. Meanwhile, we have resolved the core technical issues. The format conversion between DDEX and our library system is complete, and all relevant documentation is publicly available on our website. The technical development was finalized last summer, but building a comprehensive digital music collection remains a long and winding road. DDEX complexity means we need alternative solutions for private artists or small labels without distributors. One likely option is a web form, allowing manual upload of files and metadata. We also want to connect with self-publishing platforms like Bandcamp or Music Hub. The idea is if somebody uploads something at Bandcamp, it could be just a little box that you tick, yes, I want to transfer all my files to the National Library of my country. It'd be perfect, but it's a thick board to drill through, as we say in German. As of today, our workflow with More Music is running very smoothly. Currently, we are onboarding Sony Music with approximately 1.3 million tracks. Collaborating with a major label was different. They are understandably very protective of their data and treated us more like a digital service provider than an archive. Considering that none of the major labels have a standard workflow to deal with archive libraries, because we are the first to deal with them this way, it took several productive and very friendly conversations between our legal and IT teams to reach solutions. I'm not ironic. It's very, very friendly, guys. Next in line is Warner Music, who currently use an older DDEX version, but they promise to upgrade in the second half of 2025. So again, about now. This gave us opportunity to already agree on delivery formats, frequencies, and legal terms before then at some point getting started. We are also in conversation with Zebralution, one of Germany's largest digital distributors for indie labels. This case is more complex for legal reasons because our legal mandate requires us to collect from the rights holders, not the intermediaries. Therefore, we need an agreement with the labels, not with the distributor, in what way we are going to collect their published music. However, Zebralution is willing to act as a service provider for the indie labels. This is good news for us since we prefer, of course, to work with big players and handle large volumes rather than many individual partners that require extensive support. I believe there are approximately 80,000 labels in Germany. We can't have different workflows for each of them. As you can see, our procedure is modular. We are adding one partner at a time and have now ingested about 6,000 tracks from More Music. As I said, it's a very small label, and receive new releases every month. While More is a small indie label, it will be more complex to handle the amount of music coming from a major label. To avoid overloading our repository, we have staggered the import of 2,000 tracks per day from Sony spread across monthly batches, mixing new releases with back catalog. This modular approach works well. The real challenge will be collecting from smaller, less experienced labels and artists. A final step will be introducing individuals to our web form, allowing them to upload their music and enter metadata themselves. That's still in the future, but we are getting there. In summary, creating fully automated workflows for collecting digital music, digitally published music, has been a complex task, but absolutely worth the effort. Today, tracks are flowing into our archive, including music that never existed on CD or vinyl. I know that at least some of you are also working under mandates to collect born digital content, and that it's not always easy. But I believe in the YASA and YAML spirit of sharing expertise and working together. So please don't hesitate to reach out. We're happy to share documentation, test metadata, or simply talk through challenges and workflows. So thank you very, very much for your attention. Mahalo. I'm looking forward for your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Do we have any questions? Oh, yeah.
DDEX is a new format for me, and well, just looking at the website a little bit. So you said importance, and you can see the public and this is today, in fact, today we covered the file. But he's been, like that using.
DDEX has its own DDEX secretariat, so they provide this and develop this format. It is not a free format, so if you want to use it as an artist or a label, you have to pay for a license. This makes it even more tricky because it comes from the music industry. So the big players like Amazon, the major labels, and Spotify, and they all work with DDEX because they needed a standard. And it was very tough to create one in such a diverse environment. But that makes it very hard for small labels who are already struggling with the music market, and especially also for private uploader. They will never deal with DDEX, I'm sure. So they are either relying on their distributor So this is why this is interesting for the labels. They don't have to know how DDEX works. They can just give their files to the distributor, as they always did, and they now work with DDEX for almost 15 years, I think, and then providing their files to Spotify, Deezer, and the National Library. That's why I said there are free standards, but they are not very reliable. They aren't supported anymore. They're not robust enough. And we are planning to create this web form so that a private person can just upload their file to our repository and type in all the fields in this web form, and this then translates that into this very complex DDEX format. Once we are at that point, I can go outside of the library and say, I notice that you are making music. Won't you like to upload it to our National Music Archive so it's collected and safeguarded next to the Rolling Stones, and you have the Sebastian Bach for ages, forever, centuries. But right now we are still in this early modular phase where we need the big players who know how this system works, this DDEX system. Was this your question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
Hi, thank you for the also, I did a very similar work this year. I started in music and YouTube first, and now I'm in archive of it.
Good.
So my question for you is with the Born digital audio, is it exclusive with published material, or are you also now using the same complete bringing in the material for like Born digital radio or podcast?
Not radio. In Germany, you have 3 different institutions. You have the Broadcasting Archive, the Music Archive, and the Federal Archive. And one is doing broadcast, one is doing all kinds of media that's important for archiving, documenting how the government is working, and we doing the published music. So we are not looking for we're not going for collections of bird songs or whatever we had in the last days. So not this kind of sound archive, but what is published. But this is because of our legal mandate. So the legal mandate goes for all the media, if it be a physical book or a digital music file. So this has nothing to do with the technical workflow I just described. But you are, of course, correct. When we are collecting podcasts, which we don't, but we should, we will, but it's a bit lower prioritized, then we surely will use this or similar, at least parts of that is something we created so we can reuse this for other forms of collection. Yes. I'm sorry, I can't give short answers. I've never had a silly question. It's always so highly intelligent, and then it's very easy to give a short answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a lot. I think you can
Welcome.
very thoughtful. There's like a lot of questions, kind of questions that you do. But I think you talked a lot about the suggestion and questions like that, but you have a process or aspect that is outside of you. Or is that something that's coming?
No, I didn't talk about that because this is established for many, many years. This is the same system as if we are digitizing our own shellac or vinyl records or migrating our CDs. So the digital music or the digitized music we have is accessible via our catalog system or library system. We are strictly a presence library, so every material that is copyrighted can only be accessed in our reading rooms, either in Leipzig or in Frankfurt. Everything that is open access, because we made a clearance or maybe the rights owners, they give us permission, can be accessed through our catalog worldwide. But currently this basically applies to digitized shellac records or wax cylinders because they are just old enough. But this would just work the same with these music we collected digitally. So this accessible, make it accessible, and for the users, it's nothing we had to recreate or to change. It's the same system as with ebooks and EPUBs and Encasing. Yeah. I can make a presentation of that next time. Yes, please.
So when you reach out to these, I think these are the regulators.
Yeah.
Where you're selling is in your, you said 800 indie ones in Chile?
80,000.
So,
But this is a rough number. Nobody really knows.
oh, like, do you reach out to them, or like at a certain point, do they start hearing about this and
Aha.
start reaching out to you?
No, they're not easily hearing from us. We have, oh no, I'm lacking for words. We have several umbrella organizations for I should have written these words down. I can never for performance rights and for what's the other one for yeah, mechanical rights, but also what where you need this ISRC code for broadcasting rights and these kinds. And they usually have all the labels and musicians as members. So if we talk to them, they speak for the labels, at least in the widest sense. Of course, there are always private ones who don't care about that because the music will never be awarded for a chart thing here or a radio there anyway. But so they know the music market much better than we do. So we basically talked to them and said, please give out the information to your members that we're having this workshop. Everybody is invited to join in. And we try to spread this as widely as possible. And many of them came, and many of them discussed very emotionally. But I'm sure there are many who still haven't heard of that. But yeah, next week I will have a presentation similar to this one with a federal organization. No, I can't say this in English. Like the federal association of music publishers. So they have this music industry briefings, and this goes to I don't know, many labels and distributors. So if you spread this way, and we tell everybody we have all the documentation on our website, please give this on, then we feel justified that we did what we could to spread that and give people the possibility to reply and to tell us their concerns and critics.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
No.
This one and then this one, right? Yep. Yep. Yes. And this one is. I don't need to connect with it. This one for my.
Okay, so since you don't need this. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Votes. The time is now 2:41, so I think we're gonna get started. All right, folks, we're gonna get started right about now. So the topic about now is echoes of Mohamad, encasing vitality of colloquial language. With Mohamad, Rosdi. I hope I said that right. Okay. So a bit about Mohamad. Mohamad is currently serving as an archivist at the National Archives of Malaysia, AMN, where he focuses on researching and documenting the nation's historical events. His work involves extensive engagement with archival materials, deepening his expertise in research methodologies and records management practices. He graduated with a Bachelor of Arts History from the University of Malaya in 2018. And before joining A&M, he was a research officer at the Science University of Malaysia, Pulau Pinang, Malaysia, where he conducted in-depth research, authored academic papers, and presented at conferences, contributing actively to scholarly dialogue. Roslaily brings strong expertise in research and academic writing, complemented by a forward-thinking approach and openness to new ideas. He values both teamwork and independent work, viewing every challenge as an opportunity for professional growth. His dedication to the advancement of historical knowledge and archival practices continues to show his contributions to the field.
Thank you for the introduction. Aloha, good evening, everyone. Apa khabar? Apa khabar was a Malaysian words for how are you doing? So this afternoon, I'll be sharing with you my presentation titled Echoes of the Forgotten, Preserving the Vitality of Colloquial Languages. Colloquial languages may sound informal, but they hold our stories, our humor, and our wisdom. Preserving them means keeping not just the words, but the living spirit behind them, so they continue to connect Malaysians across generations. For the National Archive of Malaysia, or ANM, this is more than preservation. It's about protecting memory, strengthening identity, and making sure the voices of everyday people lives on for the future. So basically, this is my overview of my presentation today. First, I will share the current scenario of colloquial languages in Malaysia to understand where we stand and what challenges we face. And then I will highlight the initiative of the NM. And finally, I will discuss the way forward for the colloquial languages in Malaysia. All right, before I begin, I would like to show to you one of the colloquial languages that's spoken in Malaysia, in the eastern state of Malaysia, namely Terengganu. Maybe I could play this.
Seloka orang Terengganu. Seloka orang Terengganu.
Wait, too slow.
Rambut reseng rebang, tapi semak jetak.
Yes. I should play from here. This one better.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya akan mendeklamasikan sebuah sajak ataupun seloka yang bertajuk Seloka Orang Terengganu. Seloka orang Terengganu, rambut reseng rebang, tapi semak jetak dan tampang. Kusah wah sekali muka, tapi comel manis tu ada. Rupa nampak nelang, tapi nyayang. Gaya nampak kasar dan garang, tapi penyabar dan tenang.
Right. So that's it. I'll open back my presentations.
Seloka orang.
So Malaysia is home to one of the most diverse population in the world. Malays, Chinese, Indian, indigenous group like the Orang Asli and the native communities of Sabah and Sarawak. Each group carries its own custom, tradition, and importantly, its linguistic heritage. These languages and colloquial forms are more than tools of communications. They are carriers of cultural identity. When we speak of Malaysia's diversity, we are not only referring to food, festival, or traditions, but also to the voices we use every day. Our colloquial languages embody that richness and allow us to hear the many layers of Malaysian identity. Malay language is the official language in Malaysia, and together with it, there are hundreds of other languages that are being used. In fact, Malaysia ranked third in Southeast Asia with the highest number of spoken languages, a total of 144. In Sabah alone, there are 33 indigenous groups communicating in more than 50 languages and 80 ethnic dialects. Meanwhile, in Sarawak, is home to over 51 ethnic languages, further reflecting the depth of Malaysia's linguistic and cultural heritage. All right, next is the role of colloquial languages. First, colloquial languages reflects who we are and shows our cultural identity. The way we speak at home, in the market, or with friends reveal our values and way of life. Second, regional differences shapes our speech. The way someone speaks in Kelantan or Sabah carries the flavor of its place, showing how language is tied to geography and community. And finally, colloquial speech preserve history, migration, and cultural influence. Many of our everyday words come from Arabic, Mandarin, Tamil, or European languages, showing how our society has grown through context and exchange. Why we must preserve colloquial language? Preserving this language is more than saving words. It's about protecting Malaysia's cultural soul. Safeguarding colloquial languages strengthen unity, celebrate our diversity, and ensure that the riches of Malaysia's identity continue to thrive for generations to come. Second, the loss is irreversible. Once a colloquial language disappears, so too do the idioms, song, oral tradition, and cultural knowledge that come with it. In Malaysia, this means we risk losing pantun, peribahasa, or even local expression that embody wisdom passed down through generation. Colloquial languages in Malaysia are endangered. Many are already on the verge of extinction, not because the lack of value, but because the lack of visibility and recognition in our society today. Younger generation often grew up more fluent in English or standard form of languages, while these colloquial forms spoken by their parents or grandparents slowly fade away. The urgency is real. In Sarawak, 4 ethnic languages have already gone extinct. Sabah is predicted to face the disappearance of around 30% of its ethnic languages and is currently classified as being in the yellow zone of endangerment. Here we can see the important milestone in the history of A&M. It began in 1957 as the Public Record Office right after independence. Our independence in 31st August 1957. By 1963, it was officially renamed the National Archive of Malaysia as Malaysia was formed on 19 September 1963. In 1969, the National Archive Act No. 44 was introduced, giving legal recognition and clearer responsibilities to the institution. Later in 2003, this act was updated under Act 629 to strengthen its role in managing and protecting national records in line with modern needs. Over the year, A&M has sat under various ministries, including the Ministry of Tourism and the Ministry of Education. But most recently, in 2002, it was placed under the Ministry of National Unity, showing how archives today are not just about records, but also about fostering unity and identity through shared history. So this is the vision and mission of our National Archive of Malaysia. The vision is to take the lead in building an inclusive approach to record management and archive administration. And the mission is to ensure the efficient and effective administration of records and archives through use of latest technology for the benefit of the nations and common prosperity. We take a look at a bit at the function of National Archive Act 2003, Act 629. This act gives 3 main functions to the National Archive of Malaysia. The first one is record management. The second one is archive administration. And this is where our work with colloquial language comes in. Under this function, A&M is not only responsible for preserving official documents, but also for collecting and safeguarding cultural heritage. This includes efforts to document and preserve colloquial language so that the everyday words and expression of Malaysian are not forgotten. And the third one is memorial archive. All right. Since 2023, A&M has strengthened its initiative to safeguard colloquial languages. A key milestone in this effort was the Colloquial Language Forum, or Bicara Bahasa Colloquial in Malay, that were carried out across 11 states in over 2 years. The program involved 87 languages experts and attracted more than 4,000 participants, including researchers, cultural practitioner, and native speaker. What made this initiative significant was its dual approach. Experts present their research on colloquial languages, while native speakers shared personal experience and knowledge of their own linguistic tradition. This ensured that the documentation produced was not only academically reliable, but also reflective of communities' realities. Importantly, this session was not limited to awareness building. They served as a systematic effort to document colloquial languages. The knowledge recorded, whether linguistic features, oral history, or cultural expression, creates a valuable body of references material. Such documentation is crucial not only for current scholarship, but also as a lasting resources for future generation of researchers educators, and communities. The program was organized in collaboration with Institute of Language and Literature, or Dewan Bahasa dan Pustaka in Bahasa Melayu, university, language expert, and local communities, creating a collective platform that combined institutional expertise with grassroots perspective. By engaging diverse stakeholders, A&M ensured that the documentation reflected the cultural and social context in which these languages are used. This inclusive approach helped to strengthen cultural memory, instill pride within communities, and support the transmission of colloquial language to the future generations. Through this sustained effort, A&M protect Malaysia linguistic diversity and reinforce national identity in the face of globalization and language shift. All these initiatives then culminated in the National Convention on Colloquial Language in 2024, which became the highlight of A&M journey. Now let's take a look at that conversation, which became the highlight of A&M journey. All right. The National Convention on Colloquial Language in November 2024 was truly a milestone for A&M. It brought together 25 experts, more than 350 participants, and thousands of online attendees, creating a national platform that formally recognized colloquial language as part of Malaysia's living heritage. The event also received a wide coverage from the media, ensuring that its message reached Malaysians far beyond the conference hall and raising national awareness of the urgent need to preserve our everyday voices. For A&M, this convention was not just a celebration of diversity, but also the culmination of systematic documentation efforts that began in 2023. It enriched Malaysia's linguistic resources, strengthened unity through shared voices, and produced 7 important resolutions. Among the most critical were the recognition of colloquial languages as a tool of national identity, the expansion of documentation across all states and communities, and the introduction of these languages into the education so that the younger generation is exposed to the linguistic diversity. What makes this even more impactful is how the outcome of the convention connect with the A&M's use of modern technology. Every presentation and oral history shared during the program was recorded and cataloged digitally through the computerized archival system and services Compass. This ensures not only preservation but also accessibility, allowing researchers, educators, and the public to retrieve authentic voices and cultural knowledge for years to come. By combining human expertise, national recognition, media outreach, and technological innovation, A&M has transformed the preservation of colloquial language into a long-term investment for Malaysia's cultural future. In this way, the convention reinforced A&M mission, not merely to preserve words, but safeguard the voices, memories, and identities of Malaysians, ensuring they remain alive, accessible, and meaningful for generations to come. Ladies and gentlemen, technology plays a central role in A&M and in how the A&M preserve colloquial languages. First, we capture authentic voices using audio and video tools from interviews, conversation, and oral traditions. These are then carefully transcribed into written records, ensuring that both the sound and the text are preserved for study and future reference. This ensures that nothing is lost, not just the words, but the tone, the humor, the emotion, the nuances, and so on. Second, every recording and transcription is stored securely in our repository. This guarantees long-term preservation and easy access for generations to come. Third, we catalog all material using a system that was called Computerized Archival System and Services Compass. This is a digital platform developed by A&M to catalog and store all related metadata. Every oral history recording, transcription, and cultural document is tagged, indexed, and organized within Compass. This means that material is not only safe, but also searchable and systematically connected. And finally, these resources are not locked away. They are made available for researchers, educators, students, and communities. This means the insight and voices shared during the Colloquial Language Forum and the convention are not confined to one event, but continue to inspire, educate, strengthen Malaysia's cultural identity for generations to come. After the Colloquial Languages Forum and the National Convention, the National Archive of Malaysia is now taking the next step, positioning itself as Malaysia Language Archive Hub. First, we aim to become the central hub for colloquial languages. This means ANM will serve as the trusted national reference point where researchers, educators, students, and communities can find reliable information on Malaysia diverse colloquial voices. Second, we are building a comprehensive and accessible repository through recording, transcription, and oral history, all systematically stored and cataloged in our Compass system. And I'm ensure that these materials are not only preserved, but also easy to search, cross-reference, and access by anyone who needs them. And third, our ultimate purpose is safeguarding cultural identity. By keeping colloquial languages alive as part of our intangible cultural heritage, we ensure that Malaysia diversity is celebrated and passed on to future generations, not just as record, but as a living heritage. In short, ARM is transforming from an archive of the past into a national hub that connects heritage, technology, and community for the future. And finally, as the final presenter of today's session, I would like to once again convey my deepest gratitude for the opportunity to share the work of the National Archive of Malaysia. Our commitment to safeguarding colloquial languages goes beyond the preservation of word. It's about protecting the voices, memories, and identity that shapes who we are as a nation. Let us remember preservation is not only about protecting the past, but it is also an investment in the future so that the echoes of our everyday voices will continue to inspire and connect Malaysia for years to come. On behalf of myself and the National Archive of Malaysia, thank you for your attention and thank you for allowing us the honor of closing the important conversation at YASA Sipava Annual Conference 2025. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions in the room? Yeah, we do.
There's one from Zoom. It says, do you have a list of the different colloquial languages captured by this program?
All right. Actually, we do have. We already done in 11 states. I currently not put it in my slide, but if you're able to, by any chance, you maybe can go and surf National Archive of Malaysia website. You can find it there. You can also find the detail on our official YouTube channel. We actually doing live also during that program, so you can see all the recording materials there. You can see through our social media platform, through our YouTube channel, and so on. So I hope that helps.
Share a question. But we're gonna do circulating on their thoughts. But you know, as this has been released, do you have a sense of like what users of the site might be like accessing this for? Like whether it's like learning the colloquial languages or like research or whatever else maybe?
I think when we first decided to do this, our main target was for the researcher. I think in Malaysia, the language team in research are still wide open. I mean, there's still so many room of possibilities for you to do research. There are still so many language aspects that are not being covered, especially on colloquial one. So our main focus is for the researcher other than the younger generations. I mean, for younger generation, yeah, we want to left them a legacy of languages, but also on the academic level, we want to give we want to give help to the researcher at least for them to use this in their research, because I believe not so many people have the ability or maybe have the luck to go to the ground and do what we did. So I guess this is pretty much basically for everybody, but I hope researcher can benefit from this. Yeah.
Thank you. Very interesting. I definitely understand the argument for preserving the colloquial languages because, well, without frustration, it's really quite a bit of richness to you.
I was wondering if also the differences among the colloquial languages are for accessibility. So I guess my question is about how much differences is among dialects. Are they easily understandable? If they are, then maybe there's less of accessibility to them. If they're not easily understandable, so there's there's a bit, there's a width to the width to the width of accessibility. Could you say that at all?
All right. For sure, when we talk about languages, there must be in certain area there was a very significant differences between one languages and the other languages. Like normally, for the general cases, Malaysia was divided by four area: north, west, east, and yeah. So on certain area, I mean, like a state in our on the east side of Malaysia, there are 3 states in east side Malaysia, which is Pahang, Terengganu, and Kelantan. Even though they have their own languages, but they are still understandable within that region. But if you go to maybe the Borneo side of Malaysia, which consists of Sabah and Sarawak, their languages are quite totally different from each other. But on certain area, I mean, you can still catch what they are trying to say. You can still understand a few words maybe, but they are totally different. In terms of accessibility, I think for me, I think just because they are different, the culture in Malaysia was not that. We are exploring a new language every day. I mean, people are accepting like what we did, through National Archive of Malaysia. I think the acceptance from the public was very overwhelmed. People are, even though we are right now talking about a state in Borneo, Sabah, but we also have attendees from the southern part of Malaysia. I mean, people trying to understand this situation. But yeah, understanding their language is not easy. So that was what also one of the reasons why we are helping and giving them medium for that. So that if you want to study this, we have the material for you in National Archive of Malaysia. So thank you. So I hope that answers your questions.
Yes, sir.
Piggyback off that question. So as you know, the nature of colloquial language is that it kind of, matches what the people like just casually were talking about. So like, in America, for example, like as youth culture, like the internet has kind of been more of an impact. Like we have words now in the language that just weren't there 20 years ago. So like, are you seeing that in Malaysia? And like, you plan to kind of try to capture those changes as well?
Totally. We also see the trend happening in Malaysia. I mean, there's a few words that suddenly pop up in the last years. I mean, the words have never been heard before. And also there's some word in Malaysia that don't believe, maybe last 2 years it was widely spoken, but suddenly today, right now, it was suddenly become less paid. We acknowledge this trend that's happening in Malaysia. That's why, like I said, I think before I sum up my presentation, that we will continue to do this in the future, even though all the state have been covered, but maybe we'll come back in the next maybe 1 or 2 years to recover all the state and to recollect the data and to add on to the data that we have already collected over the years. So yeah, I hope that helps.
Yeah. Questions?
One more from online. Will this program be eventually expanded to cover other ethnic languages like Malaysian Chinese dialect, Malaysian Indian dialects, and Orang Asli language?
Yeah, to answer this question, yes, we are looking forward not just to cover that 3 languages that you say. We also want to cover every single minority ethnic that have in Malaysia. But as you know, we are dealing with time. We are dealing with a lot of factors that we need to reconsider when we want to do this. So we will take maybe this will take few years, few times. But yeah, the initiative are heading towards there. We will try to cover as much languages as possible before it's too late. I hope that answered the questions. All right. All right. Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you so much for having us today. Yeah.
All right.
Hmm.